That's wrist extension. Okay, today we're going to talk about wrist extension, which seems like such a tiny little deal when we have all these big movements that we should be taking care of, but some of the big movements can occur if we don't have this little guy working properly. So in a lot of our screens, we don't even look at the wrist, and if you go take like a SFMA course or something like that, they actually tell you they don't have the upper extremity taken care of. So in our TPI screen, or our golfer specific screen, we actually have some tests that we're going to look at the wrist function, because that's a big deal for a golfer. We know that in the trail, wrist and hand, that we actually need extension if we're going to create that lag or create the correct angle. You know, if you're a right-handed golfer, that's going to be the right wrist, left is going to be the left. But let's say we're not a golfer. Let's say we're crazy about fitness. Maybe we do some sort of cross training. Maybe we like to be fit and do cross training, if you know what I'm talking about. But maybe you're a golfer who's looking to do some cross training too, so that's going to be doubly important to you. And what are we talking about? If we need to get into a front rack position. Front rack is involved in, of course, a front squat, top of power clean, beginning of any type of overhead push movement, which if you're a golfer, I don't know if we're going to be doing overhead movements, but I don't know, maybe this is for any other sport too. So what do we need to do to work on this? Well, we need to make sure that we have full wrist extension. We should have 90 degrees of active and passive wrist extension. We don't need to test that. You're going to know you're limited if you can't create lag because we can't get that wrist position or we can't get into a front rack position. We're going to tie everything together from the upper extremity down. Okay? So first of all, we need to work on the wrist itself. So to do that, I like to get the joint to work with us. So sometimes if we sit here and just try to force a joint into a certain range of motion, it's not going to happen, not just because of the soft tissues on the opposing side, but the joint itself is actually impinging. So that's what's happening a lot of times on the wrist, because we're very extensor dominant in our society. We type a lot, we do a lot of things like this. So these guys don't want to let go and they start to impinge the wrist. So what we're going to do is take those out of it. So we're going to band it up, and then we're going to just come full hand onto the floor. Now when we do this, we don't want a poor position of the shoulder up here jammed. I like to get in a good quadruped position and finish it off like I'm in a push-up. Elbow stays straight, and now we're going to make sure that whole hand is down. We don't want to do this or roll out one way. And now we're just going to kind of play with that range of motion. You're going to do some forward leans. If you've seen our ankle mobilization videos, that's kind of where we got inspired with that. So we're just going to go forward. And now your wrist, we have 8 carpals, we have radius and ulna, and they all have to work together in unison. So we're not just going to go forward, we're also going to go through some rotations. I think of this like a mortar and pestle. So we're going to hit that up. So now we're inducing some extension, supination, pronation, and rotation in there, right? Okay. So now we've done that. Let's say we're working on a front rack position or a golf swing follow through. What do we need for both of those? We need kind of this lateral chain to work with us to let us get through. So for that, I like this double banded posterior humeral glide. Big name, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get overhead extension with the lat to work with us. So for that, we find this kind of biceps groove right here between your deltoid and your bicep. We're gonna put the band in there. We're gonna grab this other guy. We're gonna come out, so we got some good pressure. We're gonna go whatever arm we're working on, lead leg goes forward, and this is our slingshot. So we're gonna pull out, let this puppy drag us back. Now if Sloan can come over here, she's gonna show you that when you're working on this mob right here, don't get your arm flared out. That's not what we're trying to work on here. We're trying to get, shoulder flexion, glenohumeral flexion, so we want to pin that bicep here. Don't take your head over to the shoulder, bring your arm to your ear. And now we're just going to maybe do some pumps. Again, play with these ranges of motion. We can do some capsule glides here where we're working on that. We're not going to hang out here and then pulse. Other big mistake, if you want to go back over here, Sloan, is we get people into this position. They're loaded up. First of all, they're holding the breath. So you got to breathe, but we don't want to go to lumbar extension. Always be working on controlling this canister right here. So get tight through the glutes. Make sure we got some intra-abdominal pressure. Make sure we're breathing correctly. So now, worked on a little bit of lat, a little bit of shoulder flexion, wrist extension. We should be good to go. And then what do we got to do? We got to train this front rack position. So let's say today I want to do some power cleans, or I want to do some front squats. And you say, well, I can't get there because I can't even let the bar rest in my front rack position, so I just get wore out when I'm trying to do front squats. What we're gonna do, you can take a trainer bar, an Olympic bar, or a heavy duty Home Depot bar / PVC pipe. Get it on a pretty decent band, get in your normal front squat position right here. Take this puppy into front squat. What do we get? We get a slingshot to front rack position, right? And now you can use this as a mob. Say you're stuck here, right? Say I'm stuck here, which we see a lot of people, they can't get it down on that kind of deltoid shelf there. So what do we get to do? Now we get to push the elbows through. Looks like a pretty good front rack position, right? You can make it harder, say I have good mobility. We'll go full hand grip, even go hook grip, and now see if you can push it through, right? If you let the pinky slide out or even the ring finger slide out, it's gonna be a lot easier. If we're working on mobilization, see if you can slide this through. Again, when you're here, don't go lumbar extended too much. Glutes should be on neutral position, and you can work on those glides, right? So now we took you through that from wrist, tie-in, shoulder, and lat to the finished position. So if you work on all those, it's gonna help you cross-train, which then goes into your sport, whether that's golf, basketball, football, baseball, whatever it is. Get after it.